I'm that poverty scholar, that houseless mama, that houseless daughter. All those people you don't want to see, never want to be, look away from me. What you gonna do, arrest me? But I'm also the mama soltera of this guy.
Yeah.
And he is?
I'm Tibu, the son of the poverty scholar. And yeah.
How old are you, Tibu?
I'm 17.
That's right. How that happened? I don't even know. So we're here to talk a little bit as a mother and son, a mama soltera. Going out to all my mamas out there, sending out mensaje to who? For you? Fellow youth scholars.
Fellow youth, yeah. Fellow youth my age.
Yep.
Who've gone through the struggle.
Yep.
And houselessness.
And maybe younger and maybe older. Right, we live in the 21st century, and we live in a capitalist system that supports what I affectionately call the away nation, the separation nation, the cult of angst and the cult of independence. And essentially, I'm here to tell you as a mama that those are lies. They don't set up our young people to be leaders, to be warriors, but more importantly, they don't set up our young people to be humble and caring and walk with love. And so we're here to do a little bit of some medicine as a mother and son who, although we have struggled through a lot of poverty and more trauma than perhaps a lot of people, this young man is a very good son. And I think that there's some lessons that we have to teach. And we teach them with love as well. So first, maybe just talking a little bit, I'm just going to ask you straight up. You know, as a young man, I want to just say I appreciate you, Tibu. You are a good son. He ain't perfect. Don't even get it twisted. He has an attitude. Sometimes his head is so big I have to help him carry it. We're working on that arrogance piece. But what I wonder if you could impart to listeners and viewers and fellow mamas and papas and folks. In the 21st century, there's a lot of lies that our young people are told and sold. And one of them is substances. What would you say as a youth scholar is one of the reasons that you've resisted substance use?
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting because although I can say that as a 17-year-old, I haven't used substances or drank alcohol, and I'm not just saying this because my mom's here, you know, I'm actually saying that, and, you know, it might not be believable, but that's okay. At the end of the day, I know who I am, you know who I am, we all in the community know who I am. But to tell you, whoever's listening, whoever's watching, I am somebody who has at the same time who has suffered through things, but at the same time has had a lot of privilege in interesting ways. I have the privilege of having the community around me, and my mother who definitely does not support that kind of stuff. So it is almost easier for me to resist that. I can't really speak to somebody who is directly deep into that entrenched notion of, oh man, let me just follow whoever is next, whoever's doing the next greatest thing. But what I do understand is the idea that I want to just be part of the crowd, almost. Because it's easier, you know? At the end of the day, being somebody who isn't directly a part of a giant group is hard. It's really difficult. It's lonely, it's depressing sometimes, and it's definitely frustrating. Seeing your friends succumb to things that you almost wish you could have succumbed to because it would have been easier. Seeing them talk about things that you wish you understood would have been a lot easier than not. And at the same time, I might be talking to people who have already done that and are trying to pull themselves out of addictions like that at a young age, like I am. And I want to say to all y'all, I support your pulling out of that. And if you're in it, I would encourage you to pull yourself out of that. You know, when you're in those kind of altered states of reality, you're not really who you are. You know, you're somebody else. You're a whole different person. And if you have a wish to stay you, truly, and look back on the memories of your teenage years and your childhood years as fond ones, filled with living your own life, then I would recommend pulling yourself out of those abuses, those substance abuses.
Well, and let's get something else straight, family, because this is always truth media coming from this poverty scholar. Trauma is real. Yes, because of the village, and it truly is a village, not some politrickster, Hillary Clinton, white middle class, it takes a village bullshit, but actually a village of uncles and papas. Shout out to Uncle Muteado, to Uncle Leroy, to Uncle Israel and Teo, and so many more, to aunties, Auntie Frances, and you know, Auntie Viv, and Auntie Nandi, and Junebug, and so many more who watch over this young man and all of our youth in our powerful homefulness village. Homefulness, a homeless people solution, a homelessness. Trauma is real. There are folks who go through so many things that they need to numb out their mind. So this is in no way meant to be a judgment. If that's what you needed to do to get by, to stay warm on those streets, because there's a thing called sweeps, that isn't even what we're talking about. We're talking about young folk caught up in the cult of angst. And I did say the cult of angst. The idea that I don't need to listen to my parents because he don't listen to his parents, and that's not cool to hang out with my elders, and all of these white middle class lies that are told and sold on our youth, even youth of color. The other thing is that race and class is real. Although we've been through poverty, and I'm on EBT and all of this, when this young man was 11, we had the blessing of moving into homefulness and no longer had to worry for the rest of our life and for our next 7 generations to come, whether we had a roof or not. That's an extremely huge thing, right? Many of our young people and our mamas and our papas out there don't even have that blessing, and that's why we're working so hard to build more homefulness, to unsell more of Mama Earth, to actually help other poor communities build these communities to support each other. It's a very serious liberation move here. But I think one of the important pieces to impart as an education is the fact that this young man has been raised as an indigenous son. He is mestizo, from his grandma, Abuelita Mama D. He's Afro-Boricua, Celtic, Roma, from his dad, on his biological dad. He's Chinese and Mexican. He's also light-skinned, just like I am. We walk through the world not being policed every single moment that we walk down the street. But he's a young man of color, and he struggles with all of the ways that he's ensnared into these systems that are there to take down our young people. And so I wanted to bring up both of those things because, again, this is not a judgment, but the other thing is to specifically talk about the power and the liberation of our multi-generational nation. And I just want to ask you, Tivu, you know, to give other young people right now, when your uncles talk to you, when Master Fromm is one of your other uncles, when Brother Mink, when Teacher Jefferson, when Uncle Multiado or Leroy talk to you about different ways you're feeling, things that you're questioning, when you're talking back to your mama and they check you, how has that helped you?
Yeah, and I'll finish it out with this because it looks like we're running out of time, but to keep it simple, it's not about the words or the way they come at you. It's about the way you receive it. So at the end of the day, if I'm not receiving it in the right headspace, if I'm not having an open mind about it, nothing of what they're really going to say is ever going to reach me. And they also do things, and the words that they say allow me to have an open mind. For instance, when I'm frustrated, I'm angry, and they pull me aside, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to listen. They've said things, they've said, you know, man, we've all gone through it. We've all gone through this phase shift, this growing up, this teenage years. And at the end of the day, man, what you're going to realize when you're an adult is that you're going to regret the way you treated your mom. You're going to be sad the way you treated your mom because you know that you guys are on this earth together and you guys are fighting this battle together. And You can't be separated from that. You got to be united. You got to be with it together. And, you know, that's one of the things they said to me over and over again. And I really internalized that. And so whenever someone's checking me in the future, I keep that previous lesson in mind. And that's all I want to say for today. And I guess that's it for today, yeah?
Yeah, I'll only say to my fellow comadres and compadres out there, we can't raise these young people with indígena conciencia alone. One of the most dangerous things is to be a mama soltera, specifically in this occupied land. So building these liberation communities that help us raise us is actually one of the most powerful things. And I think we'll talk more about that in a future time. But for right now, we appreciate you. We love you. And like we say, change won't come from a savior, pimp, or an institution. Change will only come from a poor people-led revolution. Peace. Love you, fam.
Bye, y'all.